everybody, and welcome to the Intuitive Activist Podcast. I'm Leilani Raglan, your host, and I'm here today joined with Kailei Carr. Kailei is the CEO and founder of the Asbury Group, a transformational leadership development firm specializing in elevating women of color, especially those at Fortune 500 companies. Kailei's signature approach to leadership presence, which is grounded in one's personal power and cultivated from the inside out, has helped high potential leaders across the globe thrive and advance to the most senior ranks. When Kailei's not facilitating leadership development programs or speaking at conferences and corporations or just being a genuinely amazing human, she can be found hosting her podcast, Beyond the Business Suit, which has more than 200 episodes and been downloaded in 100 plus countries. So excited to have Kailei on the show today. I hope that you get as much out of it as we got recording it. Kailei is an incredible light and an incredible friend, and just somebody that I really, really look to model what it looks like to be a divine channel and to let that translate into actionable ways to create positive change in this realm, on this earth. So please join me. Sit down, get your tea, get your coffee, get your cookies, get all the things, and enjoy this conversation with my dear, dear friend, Kailei Carr. Kailei, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Leilani.
So Kailei and I, you just heard her bio and all of the incredible things she's been up to in this world, including a new retreat for Black women leaders, Beyond Leadership. Is that right?
Yes, the Beyond Leadership Academy.
So before we start, can you just talk a little bit about Beyond Leadership Academy? When I saw that, I was literally jumping up and down. What is that all about?
Yeah, so it is a 6-month immersive leadership program specifically focused on Black women who are interested in and striving for senior leadership. And I've been working in the leadership development space for the past several years and have created some pretty immersive programs, primarily through my clients. And I've seen just the power of when you're able to create something and really connect with people beyond the surface, beyond the check boxes of leadership. And also, I say with my clients, but also some of the experiences that I've created through my organization, more on the retreat side. This one is not a retreat, is more of a leadership development program versus a moment in time, but it is really geared towards, one, helping Black women rediscover their brilliance and their individual brilliance and what they bring to the world, honestly, and help them reconnect with that and create a leadership style that is grounded in their authenticity with, yes, we will talk about leadership skills and we'll bring in speakers and mentors and create sponsor relationships and champion relationships within their organization and externally, but it's really to help them understand the power they possess and help them bring that to the world so that they can continue to thrive.
So what I love about the way that you're describing this is it's different than I hear a lot of leadership development. I hear a lot of leadership development being bringing these external things and molding you and shaping you, and then you come out the other side. But what I hear you saying is a returning to the brilliance that is Black women, right? Returning to what is already there and almost like a remembering.
Yes.
So Kailei and I, Grace Kailei, that's how I had to really rack my brain. Grace, our good mutual friend, connected us. And what was very evident in the first time that we connected is that there is this deep, deep soul connection that I feel like we
kind of even in the beginning, we were kind of like, oh, let's connect and all this. And then like this year, I feel like it's been like, bam.
Yeah.
Like, okay, divine brought us together for a very clear reason. So when I think about you really channeling inspiration from the divine realm to create your offerings, my question to you is, what is your process for that? Because I know that we are going to have a lot of listeners who are, I don't know, and maybe I'll just speak for myself. I spent so much time doubting my intuitive gifts and doubting that my intuition was not just me in my head or me in my ego. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about your process and what it's like to channel inspiration to create all these beautiful offerings for Black women, for women of color? What does that process look like?
Yeah. So is there a real process? I don't know. I think the process really is, for me, it's giving myself the brain space to receive. So I know in order for me to get that divine inspiration, I have to be in a centered space.
Right.
And so I have daily practices that allow me to clear out some of that junk so that I can receive. And the more that I can put myself in that space and really be intentional about that, but also ask God to help me be a vessel, to take me out of it and to let the divine shine through. The more I say yes to those things, even in the little inspiration, the small inspirations, it's almost like the more I'm trusted. So when it came to the Beyond Women's or the Beyond the Business Suit retreat that we had last year, and that was like totally divine. I kept getting, just thoughts over the course of probably over 2 years, like, you need to create an event, you need to create a conference, you need to create something that's yours. And I, I was hesitant for a while, and then it kept coming. And so I thought, okay, this is like, next year is going to be the year I'm going to do it. And I started speaking it into existence. So I would have a lunch with someone who I was connected with, and they would ask me what I was up to. And I would say, oh yeah, well, next year I'm launching my first conference, and this is what I envisioned for it. And it was like, one after another, people would say, that sounds amazing. How can I be a part of it? And next thing I knew, I had 13 women on my team helping to make this a reality. Wow. And by the end, we had 15 volunteers. I had a friend fly in town from Dallas, one fly in town from California to help make this a reality. And what I love about the divine is that not only did lives get changed at that retreat, that you could feel it in the air. You could feel the energy and the divinity in the room. But also the women who stepped up and said yes to helping me, not even said yes, they answered their own calls to be a part of it. Each and every one of them have been infinitely blessed because of it. So that's a little peek into that process.
I was giggling because when you were talking about, and there'll be a lot of giggling on this podcast, y'all. When you're talking about speaking it into existence, I actually had a friend just tell me yesterday that they admired the fact that I will just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is who I am. This is what I'm good at. And I'm like, I'm totally faking it. Fake it till you make it. Like, I have been telling everyone I'm writing a book. I'm publishing it mid next year. I'm starting this podcast. This is, Kailei, you're my first guest, but it's taken me a year to actually get my face on here and my mic out. And it wasn't until I started speaking it into existence and almost like having it out into the universe was the reason it started to take flight, right? Because I was like, okay, I'm doing this, which I hear a lot of people say, I'm afraid, like that feels so vulnerable. What if I don't do it? What if I don't follow through with it? And along that same vein, what I hear in your story is the courage that it takes for you to put that out there and to put out into the universe that this is happening. like it or not, like whatever it looks like, it's happening. And so can you talk a little bit about that courage and what it requires to lean into courage, to lean into vulnerability in a world that frankly is discouraging meaningful action a lot of times, right? It's very polarized. There's like the hardcore activists and the people that are going against the system, which is very valid and we need that. And then there's the people on the other side who are wanting things to stay the same. And I see you in this, like, we just had this grounding exercise. You have this loving energy and this way of like loving all. Like I see you as somebody that sees both sides, that loves. So first of all, I love you. And second of all, you know, how do you lean into that courage in a world that may discourage that may discourage you showing up fully?
Yeah, well, there's a definition of courage, an early definition of courage that I believe Brené Brown talks about too, which is to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. And when I think about courage, that's what it is for me. It's really coming from the heart center. It's really taking myself out of the way, like having the courage, really, like at this point in my life, and especially as someone who does work that is aligned with my life's purpose, I can't not do it. Like, I know why I'm here. I'm emphatic about that. So yes, there may be moments where I feel like, ooh, I don't know. And, you know, may feel some fear. At the same time, I know why I'm here. And I know what happens when I say yes to those calls. And so I do my best to lead from heart, to lead from the divine, honestly, let the divine guide me so that I don't restrict myself. And it's not easy all the time.
Is it ever easy?
No. Well, you know what?
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. And what I found is when we can allow ourselves to get into the flow of what the divine has for us, it can be easy. A couple of years ago, one of my friends, I have an accountability partner. We went to college together. We reconnected in 2014 at the time when we were both starting our own practices. We talk almost between every week to every other week and have since 2014. And a couple of years ago, we were talking about this hustle mentality and like this hustle and grind, and like everyone's talking about hustle and grind. We both went to top tier business school. So that thinking has been ingrained into us. And she said, you know what? It's less hustle, more flow. And I'm
my gosh. Yes.
So that, I mean, we have mugs that say less hustle, more flow. And because it can be so easy if we allow it to be.
Yes. What I love about what you're saying is you're describing this ability to channel direction from divine as like a skill set that you've built over the years, right? It's not like you woke up one day and you're like completely led by your divine inspiration. Right. You literally woke up and you were like, okay, I'm going to do this small thing that I think I'm being led to, and another small thing. So it just feels so much more tangible when you describe it that way, and like building your confidence. It's just like any other skill.
Right. And I didn't realize that until this conversation, how much of a skill it has been for me.
Yeah. And I think how attainable it is, and how I think I'm feeling so excited about the Beyond Leadership Academy, because I feel like that is what is missing, right? Is this, you know, we're so good about the hustle and grind and the kind of out of balance with the divine masculine being all about schedule and task and hustling. But there's this whole other component of the divine feminine where it's like tapping into who you are, tapping into your divine inspiration and allowing that to guide you. So along that, what do you remember the first time you were divinely led, like the first time you channeled for whatever, like what did that look like for you? And yeah.
I don't know the first time. I don't remember the first time. I know that there have been moments where throughout my life where I have been divinely led. I recently remembered how in high school, I had this thing where I would rub people's temples and heal headaches.
That
Totally
doesn't
forgot about
surprise me at all.
like to the
Yeah.
point that my senior year, there was one class I had, I think it was a history class. We had a substitute teacher. We had to watch a movie. She had a bad headache. And one of my friends was like, oh, you should talk to Kailei. She gets rid of headaches. And the substitute teacher, I'm like cross-legged on the floor watching a movie. And the substitute teacher is like head in my lap as I'm like rubbing her temples.
That is so beautiful.
So, yeah. So that's definitely something that I recall from earlier in my life. But, things like I deferred business school for a year. And during that time when I deferred, I wasn't sure if I was going to go to business school. And but during that year that I deferred, my mom was ill. She had severe depression, and I ended up taking FMLA to take care of her for a while. I had a property that somebody had moved out of and I had to sell. So there were just a lot of things. And I said, I asked God, I said, well, make it clear to me when I go to the admitted students weekend after the deferment, like make it clear. And I knew within 5 minutes that I was meant to be there. And that's where I met my husband.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Had it been a year before, like we connected because we had a class together. That was a first year class, and it just wouldn't have happened had I not gone when I did. I got a full scholarship for my second year that didn't even exist had I gone a year beforehand. So
oh my gosh.
There have been so many things like that have happened in my life. And now I think I'm getting more confident in my channeling abilities. And I'm definitely not quite a Leilani, but it like you are like it's not a competition. It's not, but you it comes so clearly through you. And I would say I have moments where it's clear and moments where it's not as clear. But when it's needed, it comes through, and it's clearly not me.
Yeah. I say that all the time. I'm like, the universe is a much better writer than I am. Like when it's coming through, it's like,
right.
So there's a couple of words that keep coming up as you're speaking. The first one being healer. You were put here to be a healer and to heal. And when I think of activism, I think of healing, but I know a lot of people don't think of the importance of healing in activism. So I'd love to touch on that a little. And then also just this like deep listening and even inviting the message to come through by, okay, please just make it clear to me. Like, give me a sign. So it's almost like you're in conversation with divine when you're asking for that. So I guess we'll start there because that clear, you said it's not always clear, but what in the moments where it's been so life-changing and mind-blowing, those moments where, when it needs to come through, it comes through. What does that conversation look like to you? I'm curious. And maybe it's not a conversation, maybe it's signs, but I just want people to understand that it's possible. We can all do this.
Yes. I mean, sometimes it's a feeling and just messages. Sometimes I'm recalling one time when I was in church and I would get all of these messages for my pastor, and like, we're not cool. Like, we're not close.
Yeah, we're not tight.
We're not tight like that. Like, we go to church every Sunday, and right now, it's over video. But when we first started going, I would get like, I would say over the past, I think we started going to this church in 2015. In the past 5 years, I've probably had 5 or 6, like, such strong messages that they were almost bursting out of me. That I couldn't not tell him because I'm like, okay, I can feel it and it's coming out and the message is so clear. I don't know if this is going to resonate, but I have to be obedient to it. Mm-hmm. And I remember like the first time almost trembling, going up to him after service saying, okay, Pastor, this may sound weird, but God just gave me this message and apparently X, Y, and Z. And he's like, whoa. And how am I supposed to do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just the messenger. And there was one time this was November of last year. I was in a church. We got to church late. We were in the back. He wasn't preaching that day. Somebody else was, and he happened to be in the back as well, he and his wife. And when they said, everybody connect and, say hello to your neighbor, he came over to my husband and me and said hello to my husband. And then he said, your wife. And he said, she keeps giving these messages to me. And my husband was like, I know, I heard. And then he kind of took my hands in his. And Leilani, it was like an electrical current that I could feel the force, his life force in my hands. And we both just like paused and we could just feel it. And it was like, I don't know why we have that connection. But one time God told me when I asked him why, again, conversation, like, God, why are you giving me messages for him? The message I received was, I've called you to be a leader of leaders. And had I given you messages for a parishioner, you would not have taken that to account as much as if I gave you messages for a pastor or a leader. And that was like, well, all right.
Cleared it right up.
Okay.
Wow. But it's so clear. It's amazing to me that as you've cultivated this skill, this channeling, that it's become so clear who you are here to serve. And then now thinking about the healing aspect, I'm just really sitting with a lot of the pain and the grief and the anger in the Black community. And even in this moment, we in Washington State are going back into lockdown. We've had another big spike in cases. And this year has been so heavy for the Black community. So how has your gift, your healing, how has that contributed to the ways in which you are supporting the Black community at this time? And what do you want to say to them?
Sure. So, earlier this year, I was supposed to have my second women's leadership retreat that you were supposed to attend. I know.
I'm still
in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Still got like a credit with.
Yes, and I can't wait. Yes, I can't wait until we are able to do that again in like for real in person. As it was clear because of COVID, we wouldn't be able to be in person. Right. My first inclination was, okay, let's just refund everybody's money and figure it out. And then I had a session where, I invited all the women who were registered and quite a few came. And I asked them, I said, we're thinking about just refunding everyone's money. We are thinking about doing something virtually and just want to get your input. And what we heard was some people said, keep my money until you do it in person because I'm there. Other people, there were some people who said, okay, just refund my money. And then there was a group that said, whatever you do virtually, I'm there. Like, I need this. And it was clear that we didn't need a 3-day retreat that we force fed onto Zoom. But instead, we reimagined the experience for it to be a masterclass series where we met over the course of 3 months. So we had 40 women who would come every other Saturday, and we had masterclasses. And here I'm thinking, because of COVID, we would need extra support. And the first day was May 29th. The first session was Saturday, May 29th. Gosh. The night before, we had mass protests and rioting in Atlanta, to the point that my in-laws who live downtown Atlanta, we were like, come over here. It's getting too close to your house. So it became clear that it wasn't about COVID. Yes, it was partially about COVID. But since most of the women who are a part of this were Black American women, they needed some support and connection. So that's one of the ways in which, I've been supporting this Beyond Leadership Academy. Was, December last year. I expected to launch it in September of this year. In March, I thought, okay, we're going to table that till 2021 because of COVID. And then come June, it was like, no, we absolutely need to have it now.
Yes.
It's needed now. So, I have clients that I'm coaching. I have 2 leadership development programs that I'm running through clients, most with a good majority of those being Black women. And I've been brought into many organizations to speak with their Black employees about how to take care of themselves during this moment in time.
You're such a healer. You're such a divine healer. And what I love about what you do is you do it in ways where it's almost like people wouldn't know that they're experiencing healing. It's almost like come in and we'll do this leadership retreat, and you're like, boom, you feel better. Like how it's, I love
oh my gosh,
how
that's so true. Like to the point that I have a leadership development program that's for women in technology.
Yes.
And every year we're on our 4th cohort. And I'm like, y'all have no idea what you're about to get into. And I love it because you have no idea. You think, oh, I've been in professional development programs. I've been in leadership development programs. I know how this goes down. It's like, your soul, I'm going to hit you in your soul. So
better be ready.
Yes.
But it's so needed. And I think that that's why I consider you like this healing activist, because it's so needed, especially in corporate spaces. I think that that is what is becoming really, really apparent as I'm, working through consulting and coaching executives, is that we have been so conditioned out of that, out of just having spaces where we're allowed to just breathe, where we're allowed to be in community, where we give ourselves permission to rest, right?
And it's not even, I think a part of it is cultural, like especially for Black Americans. And I think it extends beyond Black Americans. I think it's any group, and I'm speaking to the folks in the US, but really outside of the US too, any group that has been of service to others.
Right.
And obviously Black Americans enslaved.
Right.
It was colonized behavior. You couldn't rest. Like you don't get to rest when you were when you're a slave.
Absolutely.
You don't get a rest when you are, taking care of a family's children, even if you have your own. Figure it out. So that's a part of our culture for so many of us, and that just needs to be dismantled.
And you're doing it, sis. You're doing the work. Oh my gosh. I just see I think selfishly, I had you on my podcast today because I needed a healthy dose of Kailei, like this healing, just like, you got this, you can do this. The question that's really jumping out at me right now is, what role does joy play in your work? What role does joy play in this crazy year? Like what has joy meant to you?
I have daily practices, and one of my daily practices is a morning routine that, as a part of it, I access the emotion of joy, because joy is one of the most high vibrations of emotions. It's a healing emotion, and it's one that many women in general don't allow themselves to feel. They don't give themselves permission to feel. So every morning, the first 2 steps in my morning routine are 1, to get centered, and 2, to lift my energy. And I do that by accessing joy. And even if it's oftentimes it's thinking about my daughter laughing, there's just nothing better than her pure joy, light-filled energy, and just accessing how that feels. Joy is just so important and so undervalued. And I would love to see a world where more of us allowed ourselves to do things that bring us joy, to follow things that bring us joy, and to prioritize feeling it.
I have so much information coming through right now, and I just want to honor it. So the first thing that's coming through is joy is the one thing that hasn't been stripped from the Black community. It's the one thing. There's a lot of things, but it's the one thing that comes to the front. Joy has not, I would say colonizers have not succeeded in colonizing joy. And I know, and it was coming through so intense, and my whole body is filled with goosebumps right now, because regardless of all of the atrocities that the Black community has been through, joy is the one thing that has prevailed. And it's the one thing I think of Black joy, I think of my friends, like dancing and singing, and just there's something so deep. And I feel like I've seen the Black community give themselves permission to feel joy, even in one of the hardest years in history, right?
Yeah.
And
to laugh, like we laugh. It is, I'm receiving too. It's our greatest healing mechanism. It's our greatest healing mechanism.
Y'all, real-time channeling. That's what's up.
I have goosebumps.
I know, my entire body filled up. And so when I think about your recent IG Live that you had, where you talked about, what if we're safe? What if we can rest? Like, can you talk a little bit about that message? Because it was so powerful.
Well, and it came from you, my dear.
I mean, it came from you.
It came from you. And it was, when you had the IG Live and you were sharing a message for Atlanta and shared that message of it's okay to rest. The idea of what if you knew it was all okay? What if you knew that you didn't have to be on guard anymore? What if you knew it was okay to rest? Like, it brings tears to my eyes, because I didn't know how much I was carrying. I didn't know how much weight is, how heavy it is to be waiting for the other shoe to drop so much. And when I even tweeted about it, and one response I got back from a Black woman was, it's unfathomable to like even conceptualize that it's okay, that we're safe, that we can rest. And so that's part of my mission now. That's part of my mission. So thank you to you for being a channel to that, because what I want to do more of and be more intentional about is helping people access how that feels and be liberated by that.
And I hear, like, give yourself permission too, because it's almost like we go through this life looking for permission to feel, looking for permission to heal, looking for permission to rest, when the permission lies within us.
Yes.
To give ourselves that permission, and to really, I kind of want to just be like, let's give the Black community permission to rest. Yeah. Let's give the Black community permission to heal, and not even from me or anything external. It's like, how can you dig into your own intuition and your own divine power to give yourself permission to move forward and just imagine that all is well. That was what that really stuck with me when you said, what if all is well? How would we change the ways that we do things? How would we change the ways we are activists? How would we change the ways that we heal ourselves and one another? It's just so powerful.
Yes.
Wow. Well, now what? Now that our goosebumps are settling down, I feel like there's such magic with, just being in community with you, Kailei, and being in community with somebody who is so tapped into giving yourself permission to be a channel, giving yourself permission to be a healer, to step into that power. I see you as somebody so grounded in who you are. And thank you for just being that person that I can look up to and say, like, Kailei can do it. I can do it. Like, it just, you're such a shining star in my mind. And you're so loved by Divine. I mean, that is such a clear message that comes through. I feel like every single time we're together. And what I'm hearing now is just all of your angels, source, everybody coming forward and just saying, thank you for saying yes. Thank you for always saying yes. Thank you for saying yes to being a channel. Thank you for saying yes to this incredibly important healing work that you're doing. You're just so needed in this realm. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for saying yes. All the healing that you are doing, my friend, is just incredible.
Oh, gosh. Thank you.
The world is lucky to have you. The world was already lucky to have you, but I know the power of when you do say yes completely and go all in.
Wow.
And this is what this season is for you. And I am just excited to see it all unfold.
Gosh, you are so dear to me. Thank you so much, Kailei, for being here. My last question, it's kind of corny, but what's your bumper sticker? Like one piece of advice that you want the listeners to walk away with. It can be cheesy, whatever.
I would say my bumper sticker is be the youest you can be. Be
I
the
love
youest
that.
you can be. And I do believe that when we are the us is us as individuals at the highest version of ourselves, we are our most powerful.
That's a word. Thank you so much, Kailei, for being here. Now I guess one tiny last question, not tiny, it's huge. How can people get in touch with you, get a hold of you, see what you're up to?
Sure. Well, I am on all the socials at Kailei Carr, and I have a lot of vowels in my name, so I'll spell it KAILEICARR. And if you want to listen to my podcast, it's Beyond the Business Suit, and you can check us out wherever you listen to podcasts or at beyondthebusinesssuit.com. And and we're also on IG at Beyond the Business Suit as well. But on all of the other socials, including Instagram, I have my own page. I'm at Kailei Carr.
Thank you so much, Kailei. It's been such a blessing chatting with you today.
Thank you, Leilani. I'm honored to be your first guest.
Thank you.
Wow, friends. I'm so glad that you could be a part of this conversation with the brilliant Kailei Carr. All of her information is in the show notes, so please do connect with her and check that out when you have a moment. For now, what's really resonating with me about our conversation is a couple of things. First of all, that the world requires us to live into our fullness, to live into the fullest, most authentic version of ourselves. When we do that, we are standing in our own divinity, right? We're able to see the ways in which we are meant to move through this world and to do it with thoughtful intention. And the other thing is that listening to our intuition is a skill. It's a skill that we can continue to practice and continue to experiment with and listen to. And I've never really thought about it in those terms, that this is a skill just like everything else. So how are you going to live into your intuition today and make choices around how to bring your intuition forward in service of raising the vibration of the world in which we live? But for now, be still, my friends, and live into your impact. So good to chat with you today, and talk to you soon.